Free yourself. A Stoic story about breaking invisible chains and reclaiming your life. Long-form YouTube script, approximate 4,000 words. Introduction. Look around. Most people believe they are free. They wake up when they want. They go where they want. They say what they want. Yet deep inside, they are prisoners. Not prisoners behind iron bars. Not prisoners inside a cell. But prisoners of fear. Prisoners of approval. Prisoners of anxiety. Prisoners of regret. Prisoners of their own minds. The Stoics understood something that few people understand today. The greatest prison is the one you carry within yourself. And the greatest freedom comes from mastering your mind. This is the story of a man who spent years trapped by invisible chains, until he discovered what it truly means to be free. Step 1. The cage no one could see. A young man named Alexander lived a normal life. From the outside, everything looked fine. He had a decent job, a comfortable home, friends, family, goals. Yet every morning he felt heavy, as though something was holding him back. Something invisible. Every decision was controlled by fear. Fear of failure. Fear of rejection. Fear of criticism. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of disappointing people. The strange thing was that no one could see these chains. But Alexander felt them every day. Step 2. The life he never chose. As years passed, Alexander began noticing something disturbing. Many of the choices he made weren't truly his. His career had been chosen to impress others. His habits were influenced by social pressure. His opinions were often borrowed from people around him. Even his dreams felt second-hand. One evening he sat alone and asked himself, "If nobody judged me, how would I live?" The question frightened him, because he didn't know the answer. For years he had been living according to expectations, not according to truth. Step 3. The Old Philosopher. One afternoon Alexander wandered into an ancient park. There he saw an old man sitting beneath a large oak tree. The man looked calm. Completely calm. Not distracted. Not rushed. Not anxious. Just peaceful. Alexander sat nearby. After a few moments he asked, "How do you stay so calm?" The old man smiled. "Because I stopped carrying chains." Alexander looked confused. "I don't see any chains." The old man laughed. "Neither did I. At first." Step 4. The Invisible Prison. The old man pointed toward the city. "Most people live in invisible prisons." Alexander listened carefully. The philosopher continued. "Some are imprisoned by the past. Some are imprisoned by fear. Some are imprisoned by anger. Some are imprisoned by approval. Some are imprisoned by their own thoughts." Then he asked, "Which prison do you live in?" Alexander had no answer. But deep inside he knew. The answer was all of them. Step 5. The First Key. The philosopher handed him a small key. Alexander examined it. "What does this unlock?" The philosopher smiled. "Nothing. It's a reminder. A reminder that every prison has a key." Alexander frowned. "And where is my key?" The philosopher pointed to his chest. "Inside you." Step 6. Facing the Truth. That night Alexander couldn't sleep. The old man's words echoed through his mind. He began examining his life honestly. For the first time, he realized how often he lied to himself. How often he blamed others. How often he avoided responsibility. How often he surrendered to fear. The truth was uncomfortable. But truth always comes before freedom. Step 7. The Chain of Approval. The first chain Alexander identified was approval. He wanted everyone to like him. Every decision passed through a filter. "What will people think?" The philosopher later explained. "The moment your happiness depends on someone else's opinion, you are no longer free." That sentence changed everything. Alexander suddenly saw how much energy he wasted seeking validation. And he decided to stop. Not overnight. But gradually. One decision at a time. Step 8. The chain of fear. The second chain was fear. Fear had controlled his life for years. Fear prevented action. Fear prevented growth. Fear prevented opportunity. The philosopher gave him a challenge. Do one thing every day that scares you. Alexander started small. Speaking up in meetings. Starting conversations. Sharing opinions honestly. Taking risks. The more he acted despite fear, the weaker fear became. Step 9. The chain of the past. This chain was heavier than all the others. Alexander constantly replayed old mistakes. Old failures. Old embarrassments. Old regrets. The philosopher asked him, "Can you change yesterday?" "No." "Then why are you living there?" Alexander had never thought about it that way. The past existed only in memory. Yet it controlled his present. The philosopher taught him, learn from the past. Do not live in it. Step 10. The chain of anger. Another prison waited. Anger. Alexander carried resentment toward people who had hurt him. Some wounds were years old. Yet they still controlled him. The philosopher said, holding anger is like carrying a burning coal and expecting someone else to be burned. Alexander finally understood. Forgiveness wasn't for others. It was for himself. Freedom required letting go. Step 11. The storm. Life soon tested everything. Alexander lost money. Faced betrayal. Experienced failure. Old fears returned. Old habits resurfaced. For a moment he felt defeated. Then he remembered something. Freedom isn't proven when life is easy. Freedom is proven when life is difficult. And so he stood firm. Step 12. The mountain lesson. The philosopher took Alexander to a mountain. From the summit they watched a storm moving across the valley. The philosopher asked, what controls the storm? No one. What controls your thoughts? Alexander paused. Then he smiled. I do. The philosopher nodded. Exactly. The world will always have storms. The question is whether the storm enters your mind. Step 13. Learning self-mastery. Months passed. Alexander developed new habits. Morning reflection. Journaling. Meditation. Self-discipline. Gratitude. Every day he strengthened his mind. Just as athletes train their bodies, he trained his thoughts, his emotions, his reactions. And slowly he became stronger. Step 14. Losing what no longer served him. As Alexander changed, some people disappeared. Some criticized him. Some misunderstood him. Some mocked his growth. At first this hurt. Then he realized something important. Not everyone is meant to accompany you forever. Growth often requires leaving old environments behind. Freedom sometimes requires letting go. Step 15. Discovering true peace. One evening Alexander sat beside a river. The same river he had visited years earlier. For the first time in his life, his mind felt quiet. Not because life was perfect, but because he had stopped fighting reality. He accepted what he couldn't control, focused on what he could, and peace emerged naturally. Step 16. The final lesson. Years later Alexander met the philosopher one last time. The old man appeared older, but still peaceful. Alexander smiled. You were right. The philosopher laughed. About what? The prison. And the key? The old man nodded. What have you learned? Alexander looked toward the horizon, then answered, I learned that freedom isn't something you find. It's something you create. The greatest freedom. Most people spend their lives trying to change the world. The Stoics spent their lives changing themselves. Because true freedom isn't more money, more status, more possessions, more followers. True freedom is freedom from fear, freedom from anxiety, freedom from approval, freedom from regret, freedom from anger, freedom from self-imposed limitations. That freedom cannot be purchased. It must be earned. powerful ending. So if you feel trapped, if fear controls you, if approval controls you, if anxiety controls you, if regret controls you, remember this. The prison door may already be open. The chains may already be unlocked. The only thing left is for you to walk out. Free yourself from fear. Free yourself from doubt. Free yourself from negativity. Free yourself from the opinions of others. Free yourself from yesterday. Free yourself from excuses. Because the strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of those chains. And when you finally break them, you won't just feel stronger. You won't just feel happier. You won't just feel more confident. You will feel something far more powerful. You will feel free. Stay calm. Stay disciplined. Stay strong. Stay unbreakable. And most importantly, free yourself.